Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about Saiga tentarica, the Saiga antelope. The Saiga is a critically endangered antelope inhabiting the Great Steppes of Eastern Europe. The steppes, for people that don't know, are like these huge expanses of mountainous grassland that are quite barren, almost semi-desert-like. The average Saiga stands about 60 to 80 centimetres, and they have pale grey-brown coats that change seasonally with molts. And males have long ringed horns they use for fighting. What really sets the Saiga apart from any antelope, or even any other animal for that matter, is their bulbous trunk-like nostrils. These elongated nostrils act as a kind of filter for dust kicked up by other members of the large herds, and being used in thermoregulation, cooling blood in the hot summers and heating air before it reaches the lungs in the winter. It kinda looks like a tapir's nose, different in form, but equally as bizarre. If you have never seen a picture of one, they look like they're straight out of a sci-fi film. If you have ever watched Star Wars, literally looks like Watto, the pod racing fly thing. I think they're beautiful to look at, truly majestic creatures. Although I showed a picture to someone who had never seen one, and they said it was one of the ugliest things they have ever seen. I still think they're amazing creatures though. Like many antelope, females form large aggregations or herds that roam huge distances and migrate for grazing, and for mass calving 10 times a year. It is thought these long migrations help avoid predators and stochastic events as they give birth and raise their young. Juvenile Saiga are highly vulnerable in the harsh conditions of the steppes, so giving birth in mass helps increase the survival chance, especially from predators such as wolves, foxes and eagles. So they go on these long migrations prior to giving birth, as it is in their best interest to avoid them. According to the IUCN, there are roughly 5 separated populations of Saiga, including a small population in Mongolia, regarded as its own subspecies. Overall, it is estimated there are 160,000 to 165,000 Saiga as of 2018. It sounds a lot, right? So why are they classified as critically endangered? Historically, there were even larger herds that roamed all the way across the steppes right into China. Not unlike the great bison of North America that once roamed in tens of millions, their populations have drastically dwindled. In their huge numbers, they were often hunted as a food source or for materials throughout history. However, over time, with the rising human population in the area, hunting soon went over the sustainable limit. Between 1955 and 1989, 87,000 tons of meat was recorded being collected from around 5 million Saiga. That's 30 times the current population hunted in just 34 years. Since then, it is now illegal to hunt Saiga, as they are protected under the Bonn Convention for Migratory Species and are a Class 1 protected species. However, illegal poaching is still prevalent, as their horns are prized on the Asian market, fetching up to $4,000 each, being on par with the famous rhino horn. In 2014, over 2,000 horns were seized by Chinese customs, with a value of $11 million. Hunting is not the only great threat that Saiga face with their rapid population decline, being dubbed as the fastest declining mammal in the world. Mass mortality is not uncommon in ungulates, such as antelopes and horses. When aggregated in the large calving herds, the Saiga are extremely vulnerable to disease and sickness. There have been many mass mortalities recorded throughout the 20th century, but from the years 2010 to 2016, mass death has occurred every single year. In 2015, the largest mass mortality occurred in Kazakhstan of between 150,000 to 200,000 Saiga from a mysterious illness. Within days, the Saiga dropped dead with a herd fatality rate of 100% once infected, leaving huge fields of corpses. The cause of death was determined to be hemorrhagic septicemia caused by a bacterium called Posterity multocida. The strangest thing was that the bacteria naturally lives in the Saiga's elongated nostrils. Scientists believed that unusually warm and wet conditions that year, possibly caused by climate change, caused the bacteria to enter the bloodstream and become septic. To further add to the plight of the Saiga, changes in their habitat are furthering their struggle for survival. The once rolling open grasslands of the steppes are being more and more fragmented by human activities and settlements. As a nomadic species, they must migrate large distances to find suitable habitat, especially in harsh environments such as the steppes. Due to the ever-increasing use of agriculture in human settlements, the ever-increasing barriers in their way blocking their migration routes. The migration routes span across 5 countries, and borders are being more and more restricted, such as the Kazakhstan border with Uzbekistan building a 150-kilometre wire fence. In a study by Singh et al. In 2010, the effects of human interference was measured on the Saiga's calving site selection. The productivity, the amount of food available, the water availability, and human presence were measured for the calving sites. Surprisingly, the study found that intermediate productivity was generally favoured, along with intermediate distance from water sources. But sites were preferred that were further away from human presence over the other 2 factors. This was hypothesized to be due to the persistence of human poaching and hunting over time, so Saiga actively avoid humans like they would any other predators during their migration. So to bring it all together, the majestic alien-like Saiga is severely under threat, and definitely deserves its conservation status of critically endangered. Between the illegal poaching that will surely continue as its numbers decline, therefore increasing the rarity, their habitat alteration by humans altering their once vast migration routes, the threats of mass mortality which can knock out whole populations if happening again, coupled with accelerating climate change, the Saiga is in dire trouble. It is estimated that 95% of the entire historically known Saiga population has declined in just 15 years. For an animal that is considered a relic from the last ice age, once roaming with mammoths from the British Isles across Europe, their decline is worrying, showing that an ever-increasing detrimental effects humans are having on the environment. As previously mentioned, they undoubtedly once roamed across Europe in herds millions strong, and it is very sad that they have been reduced to such small numbers. There is hope, however, as they are now a completely protected species. Also, many organisations are constantly working towards their conservation, such as the Saiga Conservation Alliance. Moscow Zoo also keeps Saigas, and is the only zoo in the world to do so. Alaskania Nova Biosphere Reserve also has a small population. Hopefully, combined with advancements in veterinary care, conservation management, and a better understanding of their ecology and migration routes, we can preserve these outstanding creatures for further generations.